Hi everyone, this is Callie. Thanks so much for being here. Today I'm sharing a card using the Wild and Free Flower set from the April 2024 card kit. The Wild and Free Flower set is a 6x8 stamp set. It's got two large floral images and a bunch of everyday sentiments used for any occasion. So this is going to be a great set that I think a lot of people are going to want to have in their stash. What I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be watercoloring, and I'm using lots of contents from the April 2024 card kit, and it's such a fun kit. I'm using some clear embossing ink here from Simon Says Stamp. This is a part of the card kit along with the gold embossing powder that I'm going to be using to emboss the image. Before I stamped the image, I remembered that I probably should use some anti-static powder to prevent any gold powder from straying away from the image there and getting all over the watercolor paper. So I've stamped that with that clear embossing powder, and now I'm going to use the gold embossing powder that's a part of this kit, and I'm going to sprinkle that over the stamped image so that that gold can cling to the floral image that I stamped. So we have a really great impression there. I'm just going to funnel all of that embossing powder back into the little container and close that up nice and tight. And after heat setting that image, I am all set to go to paint this floral image. And embossing the image first is a great way to practice watercoloring. The raised areas kind of keep the pigment in a certain area, so you don't have to worry about bleeding onto other petals or other areas that you don't want the color to bleed into, and you don't have to skip around to make sure that that area dries before you paint the space next to it. I hope that makes sense. So the embossed lines are keeping my pigment in this one petal here that I'm starting out with. I started out by wetting that petal first, just with a light amount of water, and then I picked up some pigment and I'm just dropping it in, letting it bloom, and if it blooms too much, I can remove some excess water from my brush by brushing it over the chamois. It absorbs some of the water off the brush, and then I can use a drier brush to pull up pigment and that water from each of the petals. So that's what I'm going to continue to do with all of the flowers and sections of the flowers. Again, I'm wetting the petals, adding some pigment, watching it bloom, and using a damp brush to kind of move that pigment around and keeping it constrained to the nooks and crannies to make it look more dimensional. And I'll continue to do that until all of my petals are completed. Now for the stamens on that larger flower, I'm just going to dot in some little black dots to emphasize those details, but you can also use yellow if you'd like. Then on this filler stem, I'm using some brighter greens and some purples for some of the blooms. I did pull in the set to kind of figure out what was actually a bloom and what I wanted to be green. And then I'll finish up here with these larger leaves with a more olive green. Okay, so that finishes my watercoloring. I do have a coordinating die for this set. It does not come with a kit, but be sure to add it to your cart if you want to complete the set. Again, I do think this set is going to be one that a lot of people are going to love. And in this card kit, there is a pack of American Crafts Dreamer paper, and I love this watercolor look here. I thought that would go well with the watercolor image that I used. And I don't know about you, but I like to keep my papers bound together if possible. So I'm just going to slide it into my trimmer here and just cut off a piece that I know I'm going to use. That way all the papers stay together, nice and bound together, and isn't loose in any way. So I have my A2 size piece that I've cut, and I'm going to put it into the Floating Flowers embossing folder. This embossing folder is a part of the April 2024 card kit, so I'm telling you, it's filled with beautiful products that I think a lot of people are going to love. This card kit is just wonderful. So I have my piece of the background patterned paper that I've also embossed with that beautiful texture. I'm going to use some 3D foam squares here to attach the images. I find for me, this is the best way to attach images to an embossed background. You know that that adhesive is going to cling to the embossed areas and is going to adhere super well. Now for the sentiment, I'm going to stamp this thank you sentiment from the Wild and Free Flowers stamp set. And again, I'll be using the clear embossing ink and the gold embossing powder because I really want to stretch the supplies that are available in this kit. So I'm stamping it again over black cardstock using that clear ink. Then I'll sprinkle on some of that gold embossing powder, tap off the excess, and then heat set it to finish. I'm going to use the coordinating die to cut out this sentiment, which I absolutely love having, but if I didn't, I would definitely fussy cut around these words to get that nice black border. Of course, if you're not keen on fussy cutting, a nice sentiment strip block, rectangular shape, trimmed down in your trimmer is going to be perfect too. My kit came with 3D foam squares that are black, so I'm using that to attach my sentiment. But just a note, your kit might come with white and it might be a different size. I'm using that T-ruler there to help me make sure that it's all lined up. Then I'll attach this to a card base and that'll finish my card. Now, if you're interested in any of the products that I used today, they are sold individually, but you can get a way better deal if you grab this card kit before it sells out. Everything's going to be listed in the descriptions below, as well as on the coordinating blog post if you're interested. I hope you enjoyed this card. Thanks so much for joining me today and have a wonderful day. Bye, everyone.